Hi, everybody. So we are having some technical difficulties today, um, but because we are having these technical difficulties, one thing that we are trying to do is still bring to you. So I have decided to go ahead and come on into IG and do our podcast today. Um, and Malik is not here, so we're just gonna go ahead and get this show on the road for you.
All right.
So, for those of y'all don't know, that's Chino, the unofficial co-host. I'm Samantha Adams, and we're also joined here with my good friend.
Everett Stevenson, what's going on, everybody? How you doing today? Hope y'all having a good, lovely Saturday.
Yeah, sorry about that. And again, Malik is unable to join us today. He had some things going on, so he wasn't able to join us. But we're gonna get it started. So, um, it's gonna be a little different today. Today's topic is about minding your nerves. You know, with all the things that are going on right now in society, I'm not even going to just say our country, but just in society, um, we got to do something to maintain our mental health because our mental health is equally important to take care of, right? Like we have to take care of we a lot of times people go to work out, go to the gym to work out, to take care of their physical body, try to make sure they eat right. People will go take care of their spiritual health to go, by going to whatever thing they choose to go to, whether it be church or mosque or synagogue, whether they just meditate, whatever it is that they choose to do. But a lot of times, especially in our community, we lack in taking care of our mental health. And the one of the biggest issues with that is the fact that the mind is probably the most powerful organ in our body, the brain. And so if we don't take care of our mental health, it's going to affect everything else. Um, and that's why we titled this Minding Your Nerves. So let's talk about what some of those problems are. Like, what do you see?
Man, currently, this has been one of the craziest times, with this last year, us going through the pandemic, and even in more recent times with some of the things that we've been seeing in the news. And then, I expressed to you earlier this week, just like how, things is just, it seems like a lot, within everything from having to be in home. A lot of times, a lot of people were able to work from home. Some people, also they're in homes a lot of less interaction with individuals. Some places are shut down, so a lot of people aren't able to kind of go out and go to their favorite restaurants or local establishments that they may have liked to go to. One of the things that for me that I think that brings peace is like being able to go to certain venues. And so I know I was fortunate enough to live in Florida where things weren't always as restricted as other places around this nation. So I wasn't as impacted as much as others would have been. But I understand how those are some things that recently could have had an effect on people's mind state. In addition to some other things, I don't know if you have a few ones that you want to add on to that.
Well, I was thinking about more from a bigger scale. When you talk about, the coronavirus, not just the restrictions triggered by the coronavirus, but all the losses that people suffered as a result. Whether it be loss of a family member, a friend, because they got coronavirus and weren't able to survive it, or if it was because they lost a job. The impact of losing a job, and then because you lose a job, if you can't pay for your housing, you might lose housing. You know what I'm saying? I know they tried to, in a lot of places, they try to put a pause
Moratorium.
on people being able to get evicted or
Yeah,
foreclosed on their homes. Some moratoriums and stuff, but that was after it started to become an issue, right? Like, so people were in fact affected buy it before it even became. And then there were some landlords and stuff out there still putting people out even though they weren't supposed to. You know, people getting things shut off like the water or the lights. People couldn't afford to buy food. You know, and if you have a family, especially if you have children, I mean, it's hard enough when you have to do that on your own. But when you have a family and you have children and stuff, how you gonna feed your family? You think about all these other mouths that you need to feed. So, you know, all of those things take a toll. So imagine you have a person, family of four, right? Mom and dad both work. Mom and dad both lose their job. They don't know how they're gonna feed their family. They don't know how they're gonna pay their bills. Um, they can't even go out and do the things that they like to do, like Everett said, whether it be just going to a venue just to try to get some type of solace. They might be able to go to the park, but even at the park, they have a hard time. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be distance. And then if you have small children, every 2 minutes you're telling them, put your mask on, leave your mask on, put your mask up. Don't go over there. Don't touch that. And it's like you already were like that before, but now you're hyper vigilant and it just creates more anxiety than it does peace. And you know, it definitely takes a huge toll on people. You know what I'm saying? So I think that um I think that it's important for us to just make sure we try to maintain what we can maintain and try to build ourselves back up after being so broken down. But take that same
But
family, or one of the things I was going to say is, what if they lost a family member and a job? You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. What were you going to say, E?
yeah, no. Well, I was gonna ask Sam like, again, because I know you were one of the ones like me in the state that wasn't as restricted as other places. So, what would you say is something that you think that maybe you might have felt like you've experienced like within this time frame of the whole pandemic and things of that nature that you felt like you had to either a maybe decompress or b address during this time frame, because I can
So,
say me personally, I'll just go first real fast because I know I asked that question and I don't want to just throw you
yeah,
on.
are you good?
um so for me personally, I feel as though like, one of the things that I enjoy doing, and like early on, like one of the things I used to enjoy doing was buying flowers. So like I would always go to like a little flowery and like places. The lady would come through our job. She sells flowers every week, so I would just buy them just because, like, what I'm saying. It was just nice to have, and it just I feel like made the house right. So like going outside, seeing nature, going to little shops and things of that nature were things that I felt like kind of helped me kind of address little things. Like, cause I mean, like within having the pandemic, I was fortunate enough to, be able to continue working. And it didn't necessarily lighten up the load. So, in addition to normally, you're able to work. And then in the areas that I live in, you have the evening times where you can kind of go out at night, and the nightlife is open for numerous hours. You know what I'm saying? So you can be out um all types of times, excuse me, all types of time at night. And then you also have the weekends, you know what I'm saying, in which you can kind of recoup whatever it is that you want to do. So that if you were working really hard, you have those times to kind of give yourself a little time to catch up. So well, for me, I found that I struggled in a sense with like dealing with that feeling of feeling like, oh man, like there's really nothing to do. There's no place to be. You know what I'm saying? I had to kind of just be in the house all the time though. Like, especially like for a few weeks, there was just like a no restaurants, no nothing. I mean, they really didn't even want people to be outside, So that was a challenge for me. And I kind of felt like what it required me to do was to have to look inwards a little bit more to find ways that I could kind of like entertain myself and entertain my mind so that I could, cope with feeling like I'm like cabin fever type of thing.
Hmm. So, I too was blessed to be able to work throughout the whole pandemic. I mean, I may have bounced around from one job to another, but I had a see, my circumstance was a little different from other people's because I was studying for the bar, and then I took the bar exam, and 2 weeks after the bar, the pandemic hit. So I was right back in isolation. So, you know, I was already knew
Yeah.
how to stay away and stay in my bubble because I had
Yeah.
to study for the bar exam. But I know I got restless sooner than a lot of people because I had already been on my own personal self quarantine for studying for the bar for the preceding 3 months. You see what I'm saying? So I'm 6 months in, like, all right. Like, I know everybody else is like, they're tired, but I'm like, I don't think y'all get how tired I am. Like, I'm on another level of being tired of being in the house. And so there was that aspect of it. And then also too, I got my results while I was in quarantine, right? I found out I passed the bar during quarantine. And so that was very hard because even today, I've been an attorney for almost a year now, and I still have not celebrated passing the bar. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, that was a challenge for me too. But so like going out, spending time with my family, I was scared to spend time with my family at first because I have a compromised immune system. So I was scared to go out and see people at first. I was really scared about that. I was scared about going to the grocery store, but I didn't really trust the people that because I'm an A-type personality, so I didn't really trust the people to get my groceries right. If I had ordered my groceries, you know what I'm saying? Because then I'll be
Mhm.
mad. Then I'm like, oh, I gotta end up going into the store anyway. I was just really kind of like on edge about everything. But what I started doing was because y'all heard Chino barking at the beginning. Having him helped a lot because I would go for walks. I would go for longer walks with the dog. But then when it started getting cold, that was harder because he don't like the cold. But I would go for longer walks with the dog. I would make sure I would exercise, even though I might be used to going to the gym, but now I would just be exercising in the house. But I had to do something to keep my serotonin levels up.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I spent more time on social media, a lot more time, even though I tend to have a tendency to take hiatuses from social media. But at that time, like I was spending lots of time on social media. I'm being more active, talking to people and things like that, spending a whole lot of time on the phone. I have a big family. We're all pretty close. So every time it's somebody's birthday or something like that, we're trying to find ways to like Zoom each other and, do hangouts, do all these different things to try to at least have some sort of interaction with one another. But I live in Atlanta. I live in a city where we were the first ones to open. I mean, we were the first one, no, I'm sorry, the last ones to close and the first ones to open. We were only really shut down for a couple of weeks. So it became a little easier to like get out and go to like little places. But then at first, everybody's like nervous, like, I don't know about y'all are bugging. Why are you going there? Y'all must want to get the Rona. You know what I mean? So at first that was the attitude, but then like you kind of learn how to cope with what's going on when you have this virus just, you know, running rampant outside and you're trying to figure out how to live your life without getting sick, especially when it has that sickness has the potential to kill you. So it's tough. I lost one family member that I know about due to COVID, but I also know a few people that have passed away due to the pandemic. I have family members. One of my family members, her and her husband, both. She got furloughed. I mean, he was a business owner. He had to like shut down. It was actually my sister and my brother-in-law. She got furloughed for a little while. My brother-in-law has his own massage. He's a massage therapist and he has his own business. And so, as a massage therapist during COVID, you can't go, you know, giving people massage, especially early on when they
Right.
didn't know
Yeah,
what
people
was
were
going
super
on.
like antsy on being around people, getting
Right.
deliveries. It's so funny. I saw like a meme the other day and it was showing like the contrast as to how things were and how we are now to like before, you spraying Lysol whenever anybody drop a package off
Hmm.
at the door and this, that, and the third. Now you like, okay, whatever, just come grab it. And
Yeah, like
go. But when we didn't know, we didn't know. So everyone's kind of like,
yeah,
you know, we don't
exactly.
take
And
no
the
precaution.
thing about my sister and my brother-in-law, they have three children. You know what I'm saying? And my nephew, he was a senior in high school. So he got a little graduation, but he kind of got robbed. Then he was going off to college. It was like, it was just tough, but we figured it out. We pushed through that. Um, but it's like you have some families, they had to go get in line to go get food. You know what I mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
mean that, like
Oh,
I said, that takes a huge toll. So for some people, like you said, now that certain things are opening up, restrictions are loosening, especially too because the vaccine is out there and people are choosing to go and have the vaccine. Um, because I mean the vaccine doesn't like keep you from getting COVID, but it does keep you from, you know, dying from what they say.
the symptoms from COVID. Yeah.
But that the whole vaccine, we've already had a conversation about that. We've had a meeting. Go check it out on YouTube. But that was early on. We could probably revisit it, but that vaccine topic is a whole topic that we're not gonna get into today. That's a thing all by itself. Um, but for me, making sure I went outside and I got some air, even if I had to stay far away from people. But getting serotonin, right? If you're not gonna go and see a therapist or get a medication, things like that, the minimum what you could do is go outside and get some sunlight. Because the sunlight, it's scientifically proven that it gives vitamin D, it stimulates your serotonin levels and helps keep you from getting depressed. Um, and so the more sunlight, the better. I know it's really hard in the wintertime or in the cold months. I mean, right now the weather is real tricky. I think it was like snowing in Michigan the other day, which I thought was crazy. Um, but Everett and Malik, all of us are in the South. So, I mean, it might be chilly out here in Atlanta, but it ain't snowing. Um, so there's that. But those are some of the things that I did to keep my peace, making sure I worked out, talked to my family, things like that. But what were you doing? Like, what did you do to help keep your peace?
Well, for me, I think like that's a great question. Like it challenged. Like I remember when the pandemic first hit, it's so funny. I actually went to go visit a friend, and so like I remember being in the airport looking and seeing like so many flights like cancel, 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 cancel. I was like, dang, I don't even know I'm gonna make it home. Like, like
Yeah,
I don't even know I'm gonna get home, right? But I think over time, and it's so funny because like I think we all talked about our personal journeys, right, and having to go through different things in life, and how sometimes we've had to deal with some mentally draining situations possibly um before a pandemic hit, right? And so you mentioned like passing the bar and going through like your process of studying for that, and how you kind of had to quarantine during that, if you will, during that time frame. And for me, one of the things that I found that I've done, and I've learned this during that process of when I was studying for the bar and I had to be by myself and be isolated to a degree. Like I remember like writing down stuff that I would miss. Like I missed this movie premiere. Like I wanted to remember like the things that I sacrificed, like, you know what I'm saying? Just to be like, okay, so when I do have X, Y, and Z, like I can almost go back and be like, no, I remember missing that national championship that year, or I remember missing, this and that, like, you know what I'm saying, because I wanted to make that sacrifice for what it was. But what I remember also in those times was, like learning to like find peace in like small things. Like, rather recently, I bought like coloring books. I like
yeah,
like crayons, like not crayons, but like the coloring pencils. And I was just like drawing in little books like earlier on in the pandemic. I would try to get outside, like you said, just get some fresh air right around. At the time, though, I was working a lot. Like I still work a lot, but like I just had like a lot going. So I really try to like pour myself into all the things that I had going on at work, trying to just continue to be better and learning. And we were also able to get this going. I think that helped. So being able to have someone that you can work with, and having something that maybe occupy your mind and time helped. because we went from, just having meetings to, what I mean, coming up with plans to development to, what I'm saying, coming up with multiple segments that we think that we could add to the show. So like, I want to thank you guys, thank you in particular, because it's helped. You know what I'm saying? And so I would encourage anybody who may be going through something to maybe find something that they can give themselves to that's a little bit bigger than themselves in a way that they can kind of help. Because I know we talked about this again earlier in this week, but one of the reasons why we started this podcast is because, and we're still, working on things, but we wanted to ultimately talk to our community of people, of friends and family that we know and others that we may grow to know, and let them know, some of the things that we have going on, how we deal with some of the things that we have going. And we also, by my comment, we're looking to hear back from other people, so they can let us know, what are ways that they may have been dealing with, issues with mental health. And so for me, again, working with others, trying to give my time to other organizations and things of that nature, trying to find things that I could do to like, give, and to also, like I said, read little things like that. I watch a lot of YouTube. So those things, and just really just try to like learn new skills. I think the pandemic was one of the times that I first started to like really look to like, and I won't even say I learned this skill at all, but looked into like, stocks and things of that nature. And that also could be a little factor of, working and being a professional now. So I have a little bit of different means to things. So it made it a little bit, made me be a little more eager to, learn a little more. But like stuff like that. So finding things to kind of give my time to, really help, make the time and the passing of time a little bit easier for me.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that I've done to kind of like help ease my mind. And I also thought that it helped because it also, I felt like when I do give my time, especially to doing something that's bigger than myself, I feel like, and it sounds kind of selfish, but I feel like one thing I've learned in life is that the more you give, you know what I'm saying, the greater you feel. So like that's why I say it feels weird because you might be doing for someone else, but you get a feeling out of it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like you feel good because you might have helped somebody do something. You feel good because you might have helped somebody's self-esteem, or you feel good because your compliment, or your support of their business, or your time and your words could have helped made an impact on someone else. And that feeling that you get is like a crazy feeling. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think it helps with the serotonin and the releasing of things where you don't
Right.
necessarily have to go to doing other things such as, drugs and alcohol or whatever else vices that people may use to,
Right.
you know, um, kind of enable or mask, if you will, feeling
No.
that they need to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, numb
Yeah.
feeling.
But there's a couple things that you had touched on that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. Aside from just the regular stuff in the pandemic, we can't ignore the fact that like a race war started during the pandemic. Well, I'm not gonna say it started, but like kind of came to a head, part in part because nobody had anything else to do but to see it, right? Like nobody had anything else better to do but to watch it. And what I think a lot of people, just in general, I'm not gonna say just black people, but just people in general started to see something that black people have been talking about that they didn't necessarily see before. And for a lot of people, it gave them the opportunity to recognize that the problem is not just a black and white problem, it's a people problem, right? Because how one group of people is treated affects everybody. And it made a lot of people kind of check themselves, right? And I think that's important because it gave people the opportunity to be more introspective about their approaches on life and their social approaches about other people. It's not about whether or not you want to change your religion or change your political stance on things. It's more so about humanity, right? And there's a lot of people that got involved, whether it be in protests, starting their own organizations, getting involved in different organizations. And for some people, even that helped them to find some sort of outlet to help get
mm,
them through not just the circumstance in which they were in, but also too through the pandemic. And like you said, giving, right? Giving is one of my favorite things to do, right? And the reason why I enjoy giving is because of that feeling that you were talking about, E, you know? And so, which is one of the reasons why I became a lawyer, because I get to give something of myself, right? And it's a very particularized thing that I can give. It's not like I'm just buying a kid a toy or buying my mom some jewelry or something like that. I'm able to give in a way that a person is not able to receive for most people. And
mm,
so for me, that's very beneficial to my own mental health. I know there have definitely been days that I was having a hard time. Like, case in point, I was having a rough morning one day and I met with a client. And something about this particular client really just kind of struck me. There was something about her that reminded me of me when I was her age.
mm,
I never got in the kind of trouble that she was in, but something about her reminded me of me, and I spoke to that person, like not just to her, my client, but I spoke to the thing that I could identify with to try to help uplift her in some way when she's in one of her darkest moments. You know what I'm saying? And then later on, a few days later, I spoke to her mom, right? And then speaking to her mom is really upset because her mom is like worried about her child. And then at some point, her mother apologizes to me, like, I'm sorry if I seem like I'm being rude or whatever. And I had to stop her to remind her that she's human, right? Like, we go through things, we go through all kinds of stuff. You're going to be worried about your kids. You're going to be worried about your family. You're going to be worried about yourself. You're going to worry about your livelihood, the roof over your head, how you're going to eat, all that stuff. And it's perfectly normal to get upset about stuff sometimes. It's perfectly normal. But it's what you do with that energy, right? And
mm,
so I explained to her that I wasn't offended because she didn't say anything offensive. She was just upset. So she was like riled up, kind of not really yelling, but kind of aggressive in her tone. I also have thick skin. I'm from up north. I don't, I get aggressive. So I don't get upset when somebody gets aggressive with me unless they're like trying to attack me verbally or otherwise. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? But in that moment, when I started speaking to that aspect of her from a human level, on a human level, sometimes even as an attorney, you have to help guide people. And you can do it from being a human first as opposed to an attorney first. Like, oh, well, because as an attorney, a lot of times when we come across emotional encounters, we have to kind of shut our emotions off. It's not always possible to do every single time, but sometimes we have to do it. And a lot of times you have to be able to do that so that you can strategically be able to help your client. But you got to remember that they're people too, and that they need help. And if you know something that could potentially uplift the next person, you don't know if you're going to be blessed in the same way later on when you need it. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
That's the whole thing about reaping and sowing, regardless if you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, you don't believe in God, you know what I mean? You believe in the universe, whatever it is. There's a principle. It's a similar principle. You either reap what you sow, so the thing that you put out there, you're gonna receive back. You do good dharma, you get good karma. So you know you believe in karma or whatever. Um, you get what you put out. The world travels in 360 degrees. Anything you do is going to come back to you. Whatever the adage is that you heard of, you know what I'm saying? Just remember that that energy that you put out is going to come back. I don't care if you think that it's spiritual, physics, science, whatever. It's going to come back. Gravity. You throw something up, it's coming back down. You know what I mean? So it's good to be kind to people and good to be good to people because you never know where that person is mentally. You know what I'm saying? And you never know. Just simple hello could bless somebody's day. You could stop somebody from ending their life just from being polite because you never know how close to the edge some people are, whether it be due to the fact that they lost a number of people as a result of the pandemic, or they lost a job, or they're having a hard time feeding their families, or if it's because of the race war that's going on outside, or they're sick and tired of police brutality or being treated a particular way, or just being run down by society and the things that are going on in our society today, no matter if you're black, white, red, brown, green, purple, or yellow. You know what I mean? And I think
mm,
it's definitely important to one, recognize that these are issues that people actually, that they genuinely have, and that you're not the only one going through something. You know what I mean? And that's why they started talking about us being in it together and just paying very close attention to where you are mentally. You know, because once you pay attention, when you recognize where you are, it's a little bit easier to be able to be able to cope and to deal with certain things. And you know, if you're having a hard time getting outside to go walk, if you don't have anybody that you can just pick up the phone and go talk to, if because some places still have very fairly strong restrictions going on as a result of the pandemic. So, you know, if you're having those types of issues, there are other resources out there, right? Um, I know that there's something called SAMHSA, which it's a mental health assistance, and it's through mentalhealth.gov. You can always go on mentalhealth.gov and see where you can get some sort of resource help. They also have a phone number. Their number is 1-877-726-72. I'm sorry, 4727. That's 1-877-726-4727 to get some general information on getting help. Um, I know you've heard of some resources too, haven't you, E?
Yeah, I know there's definitely, like we said, it depends because mental health is such a big deal, right? Like, and real quick before I go into some of the resources that I was referring to, or that you just elaborated to, I just want to like kind of talk about it from the different ranges in which people may go through it, from like I said, from maybe something going from maybe like a mild to slight anxiety to maybe full blown anxiety, until maybe like a level of a mild depression to severe depression, into all other levels, bipolar, different things of that nature. Like, and it's so funny to me because like we you talked about this in particular, and I'm a Gemini. I don't know too much about signs and astrology and things of that nature, but I do know that from some of the education that I have received is that this is a sign that's one that feels a lot. That's one that thinks a lot, and so with me personally, I grew up and I always was kind of taught like, to whom much is given, much is expected. You know what I'm saying? And so with that being in mind, it's like when I know that I have the ability to do certain things that others don't, or that I have a certain knowledge that maybe some other individuals may not, and for whatever reason, they just maybe didn't have the resources to get to these things or whatever. But I know that, it could help somebody, then, it's behooving upon you to be a type of person that's going to be a leader, to try to bring about some type of change or try to effectively help as many as you can. And I think like you have to have that type of mindset. And sometimes like the reason why I'm saying that is it can get challenging when you look into society sometimes and you see them kind of repeatedly try to tell you that, this life doesn't matter. Like, that's why they had to make the whole quote, Black Lives Matter, because they wanted to impose on, America that no, these lives, these colors, these individuals, we all, matter. And not only just that, but you're going to respect us. And not only just that, you're going to treat me like a citizen. You're going to treat me just like you would treat, any other person, not just because of my status or who I am or what I am, just because I'm a human first. Right. And so, I say all of that to say, like, sometimes it can kind of be heavy on you when you're sitting out here and you're watching things that's going on in the news day in, day out. And one of the reasons why we wanted to have this conversation was because, like, I was telling, Sam, like, as much as I love us being authoritative, you know, figures that people can kind of come and watch and talk about whatever is going on in society. And here, I also think it's important that people understand that, they need to take care of themselves. They need to be able to, like, if you need to unplug from something, if you need to, detox, whatever it is, like, take care of yourself first. And they always say that, even like in the airplanes, secure your own air mask and then help others. And so that's why it's like, we talk about, things in this nature that can help, but I also think it's very important that, as individuals, that we work on getting ourselves in the right headspace, because that can prevent a lot of damage from occurring on other people. Because again, they say hurt people hurt people. So that's one of the reasons why I felt like this topic was super critical, especially in times like now, because people may want just to have resources such as someone to just talk to. And you give me just 1 second, I'm about to pull up that number real
While
fast.
you pull
Just
up while you pull up that number, let me just add to some of the things you said. Yeah, you're right. Hurt people do hurt people, and it's important to, sometimes, and that's one thing that a lot of times people have a hard time with. Some people, when they're going through things, they need to be around other people. While there are other people that when they're going through something, they need to be by themselves. And so I think it's important for people to not be so entitled, right? And to recognize that, hey, if Billy over here needs to be by himself and I need to be around other people, I need to respect what Billy wants, and I need to figure out what I need for myself and get that from somewhere else. That doesn't mean like go and do crazy stuff, right? Like if you're married, don't go cheat on your spouse. That's not really the move. Not unless y'all have that type of arrangement. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I ain't trying to be in nobody's business and ain't trying to judge, but I'm just saying if y'all don't have that kind of agreement, don't do it. And but you do need to try to figure out what's going to work for you and get it from where you need to get it from. And respect the fact that other people need different things to heal. You know what I'm saying? Or different things to cope. But at the same time, you want to do it in a healthy way, right? You don't want to be, if you drink, that's your business. If you smoke, that's your business. Whatever you do. But remember, when you do those kinds of things, are you really coping with the issues that you're dealing with, or are you just trying to mask them, run from them, or numb the pain or frustration that comes from that? Um, I'm gonna give you guys a
oh,
personal tip
oh,
about me, and then you can get into that, right? I'm gonna give you
okay.
guys a personal thing about me. My many of you guys that know me know what I'm about to say, but there's a lot of you out there that don't know me from a can of paint, so you have no idea what I'm about to say. So back in 2018, I lost my stepfather, and then 10 days later, the day after we buried my stepfather, my dad died. It was extremely traumatic for me, right? My mom was also sick. She needed a double lung transplant, which she ended up getting 4 months later, right? But it was very, very trying for me. I was definitely not in a good place. And rather than dealing with those emotions, I kept trying to push myself deeper and deeper into working, right? Because I didn't want to deal with it. It was too traumatizing for me. Um, and then I got to a place where I said, Samantha, you can't continue to run from your pain. You can't continue to run from your trauma. You have to do something about it. I mean, I was so upset. I was so angry. I went to church one day and told they were like, "Do you want special prayer?" I go up to get special prayer and told them people I was pissed off at God. Like I mean, and the lady said something to me that really helped me, right? For me, when she went there, I went and I said that, she said, "It's okay to be angry with God, just don't turn your back on him. Because God has broad shoulders. He can handle it. He's God, right?" And that really resonated with me, right? Because if you have a family member and they do something that makes you angry, you don't necessarily have to like completely disown the family member. But what you can do, what's up, Terry Skywalker? Um, you can tap in if you like. If you're going through something and it's really traumatic for you, you have to find a healthy way of coping with it, right? Because when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, it has a way of affecting you later on in life, especially when you don't deal with it. It can have, especially mentally, it will have physical manifestations of bad health. Even if you're exercising, eating right, you're exercising good health practices. If you don't deal with your mind, it's gonna mess with your body. You know what I'm saying? So for me, aside from making sure I prayed more, I also meditated more, and I went and saw a therapist, and that was very helpful for me. And I mean, I'm not ashamed of that because I got the help that I needed, and that's what worked for me. So, one thing I didn't want to do was go turn to drugs and alcohol because I knew just from my own experiences with family members and things like that, that wasn't going to get me through that pain. You see what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I miss my dads every day. I talk to them. People might think I'm crazy. I honest to God don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I needed to do for myself. And, I've isolated in some ways, whereas most of the time I'm like a social butterfly. You know, in some ways I've closed off, in some ways I've opened up more. I'm not ashamed. I have less shame than I did before based on those experiences, because before I would always try to, like, keep things to myself, and sometimes I still do. I'm not an open but I'm an open book to those that I love. I don't freaking share my whole life story with everybody in the world, but you know at the same time, I had to do what I had to do to heal myself. And so what that looks like for each individual may be different. And so he has some more
Resources
information.
you
Yeah.
want to share. So again, like you said, there's a lot of things. Mental health encompasses a lot of different things, from either substance abuse to, again, like we said, the different levels of mental health. One of the things that is rather recent, which is something that I wanted to touch on too, because we talk about this too a lot of times, is that we definitely want to look out for the youth, and we definitely want them to be able to look at this show in particular and be able to, find something that they can be proud of, and find ways that they can maybe find ways to develop themselves as they're growing into becoming, young professionals, or as they're on their professional development. Um, so one of the ones that I wanted to, speaking on that one in particular, there's a bullying hotline that if there's any young, kid that, anybody who feels as though this is a resource that they would like to use, this is available to them. This number is 800-273-8255. And again,
Wait,
that is
run
a
that, give that number a second time just in case.
800-273. I'm gonna type it into the chat too. 8255. And this is the anti-bullying hotline.
Yeah,
I have another one. 1 second. I'm trying to type it in.
it's okay.
Uh, and again, like, I know, because for me, it's so funny because, and this is something that needs to be said as well. Um, Growing up, we used to all, like, bullying to us kind of was a love language. Like,
Yeah.
sadly, like, I'm not encouraging that to anyone or nothing like that. But for us, like, you're a friend of mine if I talk about you, in your face, and I kind of crack
Yeah.
jokes on you. Like, that's how
Right.
I really rock with you to a degree.
Right.
And that could be toxic. I'm
It can be,
definitely not one
but
to sit here and say,
quiet as kept. That's a relationship Everett and I have with one
yeah, yeah,
another.
yeah, yeah. We definitely joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think it's also an understanding that Sam knows. It's not coming from an ill place or no hatred
Right.
in my. And I know same with her.
Right.
We know that we both are. Even when we talk, and it may be not necessarily bullying, but even just loud tones and things of that nature. It's just like, yo, okay, it's nothing personal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never
Right.
anything personal. We just trying to just make the points that we're trying to make. And
Right.
so, for me growing up, it necessarily wasn't anything, but I don't want to discredit anybody from,
Right.
whatever feelings that they may feel, because regardless of if you're comfortable with it or not, it's not acceptable if you don't like it. And that's the one thing that, what I'm saying, again, we try to push for, is that, the love for self has to be stronger than the love for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else. I don't care if it's a dollar. I don't care if it's a job. I don't care if it's a parent. And I hate to say it like this. I don't even want to say it, like, yeah, like, whatever. But, like, you just definitely want to make sure that, you have a desire to make sure that you're doing the best thing that you can do for yourself, so that you can be there to help the other people that you love in your life. And I've heard
Yeah.
Eric talk about this a lot of times too. Sometimes it's hard to pour from a cup You know what I'm
It's
saying?
empty.
That's
Can't pour
empty.
from an empty.
You
Yep,
feel what
can't
I'm
pour from
saying?
an empty.
And you sitting there trying to ask yourself, wow, I got to keep going through this. I'm trying to look out for my, and I know a lot of women deal with this a lot. You know, I'm looking out for, my family, my auntie, my this and that. You know, I've seen women in my family deal with it a lot, with just, looking out for nieces, nephews, you know what I'm saying? Grandbabies and this, that, and the third, and not be able to fully live their life to the fullest. So I would
Hmm.
encourage anybody to not, feel obligated to a detriment of your own advancement and whatever that may be. But that was the sorry to go on a tangent, but that was the
No,
one
that's fine.
that was the line for the hotline for the anti-bullying. We also have the suicide prevention line, and this is 800. I don't know if that was the number you shared earlier, Sam, but
It was a mental health hotline here.
I got
I'll put that. Go ahead and do that, and
okay.
I'll after you do that, I'll go ahead and pop that
And
number
this is the
in.
suicide prevention line. I know we necessarily didn't necessarily speak on this too much, but it's definitely one that's prevalent, and that should be discussed as well as oh wait, they got that for the same one as the anti-bullying and suicide prevention. Um, it's crazy, but
Well, I mean, it
it's
is, but it ain't because I mean, some kids get bullied to a point where they want to kill themselves, and so
absolutely,
if you want
absolutely.
to put yourself in a place where you're gonna get the help that you need, I don't care if it's one phone number or if it's 1,000 phone numbers. Um, so yeah, we finished what you were saying there. E?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So just wanted to say that a lot of times, especially in our community, the Black community, we don't necessarily talk about suicide and things of that nature. But
Hmm.
we want to let people know that's watching this show that if however you may feel and whatever you may be going through, there's resources out here in this world to try to help you get through whatever it is. So mental health is super big. Like Sam said, talking to people, finding someone that you can talk to, and even if that's someone outside of your circle, even if that's someone outside of your day to day, because either you might not want to tell your business to someone who can come right back and use that on you. So that's very understandable for why you might not use the resources of people that you may have if you don't feel as though you have some individuals that you could use. And then the other one was going to be yeah, the other one's going to be that you like Sam suggested, you can find other therapists, and she just recently put up the substance abuse and mental health um, hotline number on the line. So, there's about two or three resources here that people can use to kind of like get themselves into a position where they ultimately can get some type of help and guidance in this world because, it's heavy. There's a lot of things that's going on in society. Um, and we understand that.
Can I interject for a second because you said something I think we need to I need to that we should touch on is about mental health in the Black community. I think it's important because a lot of times in our community we don't think that you know you need to go see somebody or get the help that you need. You know, um, it may sound kind of racist, but one of the things that you hear, especially from more old school people, is go see a therapist. That's white people stuff. That's what white people go do. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, um, no, it's not. Right? If you need help, go get it. Right? It doesn't make sense. That's it. Oh, go pray about it. You know what I'm saying? If you're sick, right? In the hood they tell you, oh, just have some soup and some ginger ale and go
Ginger ale,
lay down. Go
yeah.
get you some ginger ale, some soup, and go lay down. You be all right, and you ain't missing school either, cause I ain't taking my
All right.
day off of work.
And you wouldn't have been sick if you wasn't out there the weekend
Doing
with your friends
exactly
and you was
right,
watching that
and
show last night, and that's why you got that cold because you was over there playing that game. I told you
right,
put that game away.
right, and at the most, if you get some medicine, it might be some Tylenol, maybe NyQuil if you're splurging. You know what I'm saying? But that's the attitudes. That's the attitudes that a lot of times people have in the Black community about physical health, like when you're sick, and mental health. Well, you better go pray about it. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. It'll be better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how it works at all. It's important to make sure you get the assistance that you need to really truly help you. And I get it. People don't trust hospitals, don't trust doctors. I understand why, just based on history and the relationship that Black folks have had with people in the medical profession throughout centuries. You know what I'm saying? I understand it, but um, when you go get the help, advocate for yourself. Make sure you have them put everything on record. When you feel like you're not getting the proper treatment, make sure they put it in your file. Those are the kinds of things that you have to do to advocate for yourself. There's a whole other concept about women in the medical, a lot of times you hear comparisons of Black men's relationship with the police and Black women's relationship with hospitals and doctors, right? But it's not really spoken of in the same light because it's not as violent, right? And a lot of times Black women get turned away, the child mortality rate against Black women, stuff like that. you know uh, um it's a big number, and those are things that are not spoken of. And we can maybe talk about that another day, but at the end of the day, the point that I'm making is when you are going to get any kind of help, make sure you're advocating for yourself. Make sure you're firm in in how you advocate for yourself. Like I said, make sure you tell them to put it in your file. If you don't feel like that doctor or therapist or whomever is helping you, go see another one. It's almost like, how when you call up to some number to get help for something, and first they got you talking to the stupid machine, and you keep pressing zero and screaming representative in the phone, and then you finally get somebody on the phone and that person's not helping you. What do? Hang up and call right back, because you're going to get a different person on the phone, and that person's probably going to be able to help you. And that's the attitude you have to take. Like, yeah, I'm frustrated that I just had to go through all that, but I'm going to hang up and I'm going to go call somebody else. But you better believe I'm going to get my help. That, like Everett said, you got to take care of yourself first. You can't help anybody. If you have a family, if you have friends, you have people relying on you, you cannot help other people until you make sure you help yourself. We have a friend that we went to law school with. He killed himself, right? And it's a very common thing amongst attorneys. To suffer from depression and anxiety, and they do commit suicide. And it's very, very sad, right? Because here it is, we go to school with these people, we go through this arduous process of learning how to be attorneys, and we become attorneys, and we're willing to be there for our colleague, and we just didn't know that they were in that space, and feel like, oh man, if they had just reached out. Yeah, I'm busy, but if he had just reached out, I could have taken 5 minutes of my time to help them. If 10 people had 5 minutes, that's 50 minutes. That's almost an hour, and that person could have got some help. You know what I mean? Regardless if it's just my little 5 minute conversation, I could have point him in the direction of where he could get the help that he needed, so he didn't have to feel like he needed to end his life, or that enough people didn't care about him, because it's a misconception. Somebody out there cares about you. And if you feel like nobody does, I'm telling you that I care about you. So don't harm yourself. Please do what you have to do to take care of yourself, because one life lost is not okay. And just get the help. Get the help. However you need to. At that, and it's like I know I keep repeating it because it's that serious, because you matter. Every life matters. Um,
Certainly.
and
Everybody
and
has a
saying
purpose. You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
everybody has a purpose, and nobody matters more than anybody else. So it's important that you take care of yourself. And that wasn't a dig at all lives matter or anything like that, because everybody's life don't matter till Black Lives Matter. I still believe that. But at the end of the day, each and every individual matters to somebody. And you should never walk around feeling like you don't. Um, and so, with that being said, we're gonna get ready to conclude. But one of the things I wanted to say, to try to motivate you guys, and just remember to just keep yourself first, stay introspective, and remember that you matter. You're important. You're important to somebody. If you don't think that you are, listen, remember that I'm telling you that I am. If you want to get in my DMs and you say I need help, I will help you. Um, as best I can. I can't fix everything. I'm not a Mr. Fix It. I'm not perfect. I'm a human being. But if I can find a resource to help you, I'm gonna give it to you. If I have some encouraging words, I'm gonna give it to you. And I'm good with encouraging words, hence one of the reasons why I'm a lawyer, right? Um, we're wordsmiths. So, just try to just stay encouraged, try to figure out what works for you and do that. But I know that there's a lot going on in society right now that has the ability to bring you down, to stress you out, you know, to even maybe require you to be on medication, regardless if you already have a mental health illness or not. It's just a lot going on. And I think that it's important that we try to take care of ourselves and just try to remain positive, try to find joy in everything. I don't care how big, how small, just try to find a little bit of happiness, a little bit of joy and positivity and everything, and try to keep your energy positive. Oh, one other thing, I also listen to meditative music. That could help bring peace if you're going to meditate. I do it when I'm going to sleep. Some people do it throughout the day, but whatever works for you. But whatever you do, just try to stay positive. E.
Yeah, hey, what's up? This one time I see Jen and Rick just jumped in. Love you. Um, Let me say for me, one real quick wrapping up. It was funny. I was telling them earlier that I saw a quote, and I really I felt this quote in my heart, and it's by Ore, a guy on Instagram, and the quote was from, it's like a Nigerian quote, and it says that the wind can only take the grass, but it can never uproot it. And so, it's another thing we used to always say. Well, growing up, I was a big fan of Allen Iverson, and he always used to say, only the strong survive. It was like one of his tats on his arm, you know what I'm saying? It's only the strong survive. So, it's also with that. Like, first off, understand that, the winds, it might blow you left, right, whatever, whatever. But, as long as you know that you can be, nimble and swift and go with the wind or, go against the wind even. But just know that it can't take you out the game. You know what I'm saying? It can't take you out the game. You're stronger than that. You're built stronger than that. And so that's why we're encouraging people to also be very mindful of your mindset and where you at to be able to get your head in a space where you feel comfortable enough to, go into society and be the best individual that you can be, so that we can try to stop having senseless shit where, excuse my language, but people can't walk down the street in their own neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? Well, we don't have people over here getting bullied over just the smallest of things, and we can actually move forward, So again, just understanding that, things are temporary, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, tough times don't last, tough people do type of mindset, just be encouraged. Understand that, we have some resources in here, in the comments that you can have. We are also here, if anybody have any questions or things, if they want to, reach out to us or anything like that, you can DM us, whatever, anything. But we just want to encourage our people to just stay strong, man, to become, mentally tough, so that we can kind of take on whatever else society or this world may throw at us, because we've seen that they're throwing a lot, and they've been throwing a lot for decades, centuries, pardon me. And so, we are the spawn of the individuals who, have made it to this point. So, you have to understand that you already have a legacy in you. You already have, strength in you. You already have so much. So don't ever
Right.
think that maybe what you might be going through is bigger than you, or where you at is bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? All you got to do is believe in yourself, just like you believe in any other thing. And I'm saying, just work at it. It's gonna come through. So my last little thing,
Mhm.
I just wanted to go ahead and encourage people with that. And with that being said, too, just let you know, as we was wrapping up, again, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for working with us today. As we had to make some quick changes. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate all the comments, all the love, you guys can check us out Wednesdays. We definitely got the What's Up Wednesdays coming up. So please check out that series. We'll be putting this up on IG, our YouTube page, which is Counterpoise Podcast at YouTube, on YouTube. You also can check us out on the Counterpoise Podcast page. The link is in the bio, so you can check out this video here momentarily. And again, just want to say shout out to everybody. You can catch me at that guy 2104. Appreciate y'all tapping in with us one time. Um,
Right. And now, again, also too, I'm Samantha Adams. You can find me on Facebook at Samantha Adams -ESQ. You can catch me here on IG at Samantha Renee 77 _ESQ. And you can catch us on YouTube, Counterpoise Podcast here on IG, Counterpoise Podcast, and Counterpoise Podcast also on Facebook. We're gonna try to get this uploaded on Facebook. Shout out to our third co-host Malik, who couldn't make it with us make it here with us today. But if you want to follow him, he is Malik M. Foster on all social media handles, so you can also tap in with him as well. So thank you again, guys, for joining us, tapping in with us. We love y'all, and we're gonna try and get this video up in all the same places that we put it up. So check us out on Wednesday. We love y'all.
Peace.